By the way, that's where you put your gas cap in a Sportster. When you're filling up, they engineer it just like that for you. What is up, YouTube? Kenny Quest, welcome to the show. And we got the 2021 XL883N Sportster, aka the Snakester. It's always good to have two bikes. My other bike, my Softail Evo Classic Heritage 1996 FLSTN, is over at Wanderer Moto, getting some new fork springs in the front and new seals. If you've been following the show, you know that I need that badly, and Pedro is doing his magic. And in the meantime, we got the Sportster. So as I've gained some experience on my Sportster, I'm at 1,704 miles. I probably put on 500, 600, 700 miles on my Softail. Probably more than that, I don't know. So I'm just going to say effectively about 3,000 miles of riding experience on my bikes. Done some demo bikes. I feel now that I've got a feel definitely for my Sportster. And I've been riding the Sportster more spiritedly each and every time I go out when I have the opportunity. Trying to locate twisties in my area around lakes and such. You know, it's Florida, so we're pretty flat, but you know, when they put roads around lakes, you get some corner opportunities. I'm entering into the next stage of my riding. So I've been curious for the last few months as my experience grows, you know, what's it like to ride a sport bike? Like a naked sport bike. Not like a super sport where you're bent over, but something that's known for revving up higher, has maybe a 4-cylinder engine. But also, I'm anticipating that Harley Davidson at some point is going to release the Bronx in the 975 variant, and the engine tuned to be a higher revving bike. They're coming out with the regular Sportster line soon. That's going to be a 975, but I'm assuming it's going to be, you know, tuned for lower down torque. So what's the other American brand out there of motorcycle? Indian, right? They have the FTR-1200. That's their sport bike. Indian's typically sold at a power sports store, at least in my area. With power sports stores, you have multiple brands, so they're going to carry other brands. In my case, they carry Suzuki. So I went out to the power sports store to find out what it feels like to ride an FTR-1200 and a Suzuki. So I went to my local power sports store and was able to do a demo of both bikes, and I switched off and on with the employee that was escorting me through this demo tour. So let's cut into that and get my response on the experience of riding the GSX-S750 and the FTR-1200 from Indian. Now this was a couple months back, so my riding experience has exponentially increased since then. However, all valid points. And the question I had at that time was, could you have started on one of those two bikes as a first bike rather than the Iron 83 that I started on, and I still presently have? And am I missing anything by having an Iron 83 versus having the FTR-1200 or the GSX-S750? So these are the questions I had going into this demo. So let's go jump into the demo. You should ride the Indian, we switch.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll do a loop, and then we'll switch and then do another loop.
Perfect, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Let me pull the FTR out and the GXR.
GSX-S750 is Suzuki's apex predator. It's inherited directly from the GSX-R Super Sport machine. The powerful 749cc 4-cylinder fuel-injected engine is specifically tuned and refined to maximize its potential on the streets and winding roads. Other features: Suzuki uses a K5 generation GSX-R engine, which permits a shorter chassis and enhances handling. They say it makes the GSX-S750 the only motorcycle in its class with an engine with super sport lineage. Camshafts are tuned specifically for it, delivering a dynamic wave of smooth torque and strong acceleration, they say. Its overall length is 83.7 inches, with a ground clearance of 5.3 inches, a seat height of 32.3 inches, and weighs 465 pounds. The bike has a base MSRP of $84.99, but as you'll soon come to find when I talk about price later in the video, that's just a mirage. No one sells it for that price. But stay tuned, we'll talk about that later in the video. A 6-speed transmission with shorter final gear ratio enables the GSX-S750 accelerate quicker than previous models while adding additional power, torque, for top speed potential. Suzuki's 6-speed close ratio transmission features a shorter final gear ratio to enable it to accelerate quicker than previous models with an additional engine power to maintain same top speed potential. Featuring inverted KYB front forks featuring 41mm stanchion tubes and bold-looking anodized upper tubes provides a sporty ride. Spring preload can be adjusted to match the conditions of your riding preferences. 10-spoke cast aluminum wheels enhance the aggressive looks. The GSX-S750 is wrapped in Bridgestone's Batlax Hypersport S21 tires. Electronic features include Suzuki Advanced Traction Control, which lets the rider select sensitivity to match the road conditions. Changes can be made on the fly so the rider can adapt to the power delivery. Braking is done by radial-mounted Nissan monoblocks, 4-piston up front and 2-piston in the back. The bike features 4 riding modes, Mode 1, 2, 3, and Off. Mode 1 is the least sensitive level, suitable for everyday running conditions. Mode 2, better for newer riders, and Mode 3 when road conditions feature limited grip like wet or cold surfaces. This particular example of the GSX-S750 is outfitted with a Yoshimura exhaust system and tail tidy and LED indicators. It's backed by a 12-month warranty, unlimited mileage, and a longer coverage period can be had with an extended warranty through Suzuki Extended Protection.
What have you been riding?
That Sportster?
You may end up liking the FTR better.
Depends, yes. I'm considering that, what the torque's going to be different between
Yeah.
this and that. How much high revs you have to do on this one versus that one.
That's what I'm thinking.
Suzuki's you have to really rev high.
But because you're used to the torque,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
the FTR may be what you want. But we'll find out.
There we go. Very upright. Everybody was correct on that. headlight. Yeah, pretty good. See how we feel over the bumps. Oh, not bad. About as good as my 83. Where's he going? Three miles. Wow. Brand new. I'm probably the first test ride this ever been on. Man, it's got some good vibrations coming out of the rear. My high beam on, not sure how I did that. Engine braking on it for sure. Yeah, it's funny, the bike vibrates on the back of the seat really comfortably. I mean, it's like a performance vibrate, and if you move yourself up and don't touch the back of the, I guess the seat, the pillion part of the seat, you don't feel the rattle. But it's kind of like a massage for your lower back. But yeah, that hum is really, really nice. That 4-cylinder deal. It's like a Formula One race car. Oh, he's gonna turn. I was afraid of that. Oops. Not immune to stalling, of course. Do that on the SV650. Got to rev it up higher when you're taking off. Nice decel. And the tank's just wide enough where I can just hug it with my legs and not feel butterflied. It's just fat enough to do that, or wide enough. So the ergos obviously are good, but the pegs are definitely, you know, not full-on rear sets, but they're rear, very similar to the SV650, except that I don't feel that my foot is in such a vertical position like it was with the SV650. So I don't know if there's a peg adjustment that was done or differently, how this one's set up from the factory. That corner. I guess when the kickstand goes down, it turns off by itself.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
If it's in gear.
Ah, good point.
Yeah, if it's in neutral, yeah, it's a safety shut-off.
Yeah, okay.
This one will be similar to what you're used to.
Okay.
The FTR-1200 base model comes in black smoke with red tank graphics. The MSRP is $12,999 plus taxes and fees. More on the actual landed price later in the video. Like Harley Davidson Sportster S, the welded tubular members make up a perimeter style trellis frame on the FTR that in turn uses the engine as a stress member. After a redesign after the previous model, the 2022 model comes in at 87.5 inches in total length and 30.7 inches in seat height. The bike has a 3.4 gallon fuel capacity with 6.5 inches of ground clearance. Its weight is 514 pounds fueled. It has a liquid cooled V-twin engine with 73 cubic inches of displacement. That's 1203 cc. The liquid-cooled V-twin on the FTR brings the goods with a whopping 120 horsepower on tap at 7750 RPM. It's backed up by 87 pounds of torque and it peaks at $6 grand even. A rear cylinder deactivation feature helps cut down on the heat that washes up over the engine, as does the improved heat management system to increase the rider comfort. Cruise control serves as the only additional electric engine control feature for fairly raw and direct power delivery. Power flows through a 6-speed transmission with a top speed around 124 miles per hour. The FTR's wheels are 17 inches front and back, which is a change from the previous year where it had a 19 up front and a 16 in the back. Rubber is a Metstech Sportec M9 tire. Braking is accomplished up front with Brembo dual 320mm 4-piston caliper and a single Brembo 260mm caliper in the back. The FTR suspension system is fully adjustable in the front for preload and the back with its single monoshock suspension. A single 4-inch analog electronic gauge with digital tachometer, odometer, trip meter, engine temperature, and low fuel temp lamp is standard. The warranty is 2-year unlimited miles. Lights include an LED headlight, taillight, and LED turn signals.
I already hear that one cylinder shutting off because of the fan while it's idle. And I got him too. Oh, torquey. Yeah, this is definitely like the Harley. It just takes off without any really input. And Suzuki says it's got the throttle assist. I'm like, no, you don't have throttle assist. You just don't have enough torque. Confirmation. Yeah, it's got RPM right there in the LCD. I was worried about that, but shocks. A little bumpier than the Suzuki. But yeah, a lot more torque, but not like crazy. This is a huge difference in riding skill net needs. We'll see. A little touchy on the brakes. Neutral, that's interesting. Went right into neutral. It's lightweight. Got my indicators right there. Push to stop, yep. First gear. Really everything that you need to know. It's right there. Weight's manageable. Definitely flat-footed. At 30.4 inches, I didn't expect not to be. Got adjustable forks. Here we go. Oh, crap. Ooh. Hello, Mr. Torque. I'm going to let that out easy, otherwise you're going to get jerked back. That's the difference with a 1200cc bike versus a 750. But yeah, I definitely have to rev it out at the stop, from a stop, more than my 883. Hugging the tank. Not as wide as the 750, but still I can hug it. And I feel like I'm leaning a little bit more forward. Not getting the engine feedback. It's a lot quieter than the 750. I don't have that 4-cylinder Formula One sound. In fact, I'm not hearing anything but the wind. It's quieter than my 883. The handle grips are smaller in diameter. It's almost like these hand grips should be on the 750. Feel a little bit more, I'm not going to use the right words, but toy-like. And that's just how it feels. Kind of, I wouldn't say step down, it's just they're smaller diameter. You feel like you would have that on a smaller bike. But you can feel the engine is way bigger because it does vibrate a little bit more. So now I'm getting vibrations around my crotch area as I grip the tank with my inner thighs, my lower inner thighs where it meets my knees. There's vibrations there, which the 750 didn't have. It was smoother in that respect. So I guess that's what people mean by those bikes are smoother. Braking's good, obviously, Brembo's. Now the brakes are, and the rear brake is positioned, the foot pedal is positioned kind of slanted downward more than the 750. So we get a little bit more rev as we come out of this. Until we got going there. Yeah. That shifting is more agricultural, like I'm used to with my 883. You kind of got to do a little rev matching that I'm just learning to do on my 883. But I don't feel that this bike is way out of control for me. Not at all. Definitely upright sitting position. It's not a windy day, so I'm not getting really bombarded in the chest at all. So good day for a test drive. Let's get up to 5th. So yeah, it's got the power, but you don't feel like excuse me, I don't feel like I'm going fast. Like on the 750, I felt like I was going fast, you know, that 4-cylinder wing. I don't have that. .200, 60 miles per hour. Good engine braking. Good maneuverability, obviously, with that upright position. Subaru's got a louder exhaust in the FTR, though I think the Subaru is sporting aftermarket. Alright, here we go with the lean test. Brake levers seem to be farther from the throttle control, so I gotta spread out my hands a little bit more. do the herky-jerky because I'm still getting used to her. A lot of people out today. But yeah, you got a throttle match more than on this one than you do the 750. I wonder how the numbers are going to shake out between these two bikes in cost. The 750 has been modified. Get around this corner here. Lean it in a little bit. I like how these naked sport bikes, you know, they encourage you to lean in and employ technique, where cruiser bikes like my 83 does not. They do not in their stock configuration. Shock test. Woo. So I give it Suzuki the smoothness and definitely give the Indian that power. And if you just learn how to manage the throttle, rev match, then you'll be quite all right. But I think the experience level needed to get into either of these bikes is about the same. It's just risk management. So I'm finding neutral way more than normal with this Indian. That was fun.
So which do you think?
Well, they both have their pluses and minuses.
Yeah, once you get used to the clutch a little bit on the Suzuki, it's real smooth.
Yep.
But there again, it just takes a little getting used to from what you're used to. This one is closer to what you're used to with the Harley. So,
and my interpretation was the throttle management, wrist management was easier here.
yes,
Here I had to, it's more torquey,
yeah,
so you have to rev match a little bit more
yep, that's exactly
than that,
right.
but the power's there.
Oh yeah,
That's got a sweet sound.
yeah.
This one is quiet. I can hear the wind in my helmet.
Well, yeah, and this one hadn't had the exhaust.
Of course, but it's even quieter than my stock 883. Easily remedied though.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a blast. Both of them are awesome. Making it tough for me. All right. And the good thing is I'm walking back to my Iron 83 with a big smile on my face, because I'm happy to get on my Sportster. Its riding experience is unique enough in a good way that it makes me smile. The two bikes that I rode are totally different than this experience, and I value that experience. So let's say goodbye to Sky Motorsports for the afternoon and hit the road, find out what else awaits us. So if you're ever in the area, be sure to check out Sky Motorsports here in Sanford. Say hi to Mo for me, and also Patrick, Pat Paz, two killer guys that'll help you out. And shout out to Pat, thanks for following the channel, buddy. And I love having my indicators on each left and right side, not dealing with those little small buttons that go both directions. What a pain in the ass. Kept hitting the horn. You know, I've seen reviews where guys from the metric world get on a Harley. It's ridiculous. They got indicators on both left, yeah, it's logical. Left, right, big ass button, don't hit anything else, easy to hit with your thumb. Done. They got that one figured out, folks. Everybody else is lagging behind. So which one is better, the GSX-S750S or the FTR-1200 base? Each one's just slightly enough different with the 4-cylinder sound and how the engine responds and how it rides and its vibrations versus the FTR-1200 and how it responds. And both require a little bit of, adjustment right off the bat. So I don't think there's a wrong decision to be made between the two. The 1200 definitely has more torque right off the gate, and it's not like my 883 where the torque is there and you don't have to really turn the throttle that much. You can keep the clutch farther out and you still have momentum before the engine cuts off, where the FTR is, you have to manage your clutch a little bit more closely than what you do with the 883, and it's more torquey. It's probably, and I'm not looking at the numbers and I don't care what the numbers, I'm just talking about my feelings. It feels like it's twice as much torque from the onset, so maybe, or 75% to 100%, somewhere there, more torque from a stop than my 883. And the 883 has more torque than the GSX-S750 from a stop position. And when you're riding in the street, that's important, how does it feel from a stop? And of course, that's all learned behavior that is going to adjust based on the bike that you're riding at the moment. And then it's when you're riding, the agility. For me, if I'm looking at a sport bike, how flickable is it? The position on both were very similar. My inner thighs are grabbing the tank, which instills confidence is when I'm moving. My weight and kind of leaning into a turn, I don't have that with this 883. That's kind of what I'm lacking, or you're lacking in any cruiser, I feel. So what's my decision gonna be? Which one's better? So tough. I like the power on the 1200. I like the weight on both. I like the ergonomics a little better on the 1200, but not by much. Single digit percentage wise. Neither are as good as the ergonomics I have on this 83. That's got them beat hands down. And throttle response, the 1200 was more jerky for me during this brief test ride because I just don't have enough seat time with it. I'm sure I can work it out. But because it had a lot of more torque, whatever I was doing, it was a little bit more sensitive to, or the 750 not so much. But I think that's just learned behavior. So then it comes down to kind of the feeling and attachment that you have to the bike, and these are things that are kind of subjective to each individual person. But I felt that, like I do on my Harley, but I just don't have that sense of pride in the Suzuki that I do have in the Indian, just the name. And it's got to account for something. What that's coming from, where it's coming from, I don't know. But I do have that feeling, and that's going to account for something. That's going to account for a factor, whether it's a single percentage point or double percentage point of influence. It is there. But the sound of the 4 cylinders and that little vibration that I felt when I was pushing my butt back towards the pillion area, not on the pillion, but just up against, the rise height and difference between the rider's seat and the pillion area. It must be a metal bar back there. It felt, yeah, I'm on a machine. And the Indian was very quiet. And the only vibrations I got were from a start or not managing the throttle and rev matching properly. So immediately it's like, okay, I need to add an exhaust. I went to the parts counter, got a price on the exhaust. Both, all three options they had were slip-ons, and they're, holy cow, much more expensive than a Harley Davidson exhaust system by $500 or $600 easy. For the price of a full system from Harley on my Sportster, I can only get slip-ons from Indian. Which one's better? I like the agility of the 750 more than I liked of the FTR. FTR felt I was a little bit higher up as far as a sail kind of feeling, like in the wind, even though the seat height's less on the FTR. Supposedly it didn't feel that way, so it's going to be hard for me to come up with an absolute answer. I don't think it's a draw, but for others, for me, at my experience level, I think what's going to weigh the factor is longevity of ownership. I think the ownership of the FTR would follow my experience trajectory better and longer. I say longer, I'm going to say better, but longer than that of the 750. I think looking at the numbers, which I did off the camera, the purchase of it, you're looking at $8,500 base for the Suzuki plus the accessories that they had installed, which brought the bike to $11,000. And then you had your FTR, which is $13,000 base price with no installed accessories. You'd have to add the exhaust and the windscreen, because that's what I would be adding, and that would be another $2,500 installed. So you're looking at, you know, a $6,000 difference between the two bikes, so it's not really in the same price class. I would say that the resale value on the Indian should be higher than the Suzuki come resale time. Once it's paid off, you got a 36 to 48 month note on that. I would assume that bike's going to be worth $8,000, half its value, 6 to 8, maybe 6 trade in a dealer, 8 retail. Whereas the Suzuki is, you know, worth $8,500 now. I'm already seeing 2015 versions of that same bike selling for $5,000 to $6,000. So I'd have to assume that's what it's going to be for that. As I'm talking out loud, you're going to lose about $3,000, $4,000 off of the Suzuki from what the numbers I'm looking at are paying, or I'm going to lose $7,000 to $8,000 on the Indian potentially. So not quite a wash. And there is no example of a 5-year-old, 4 to 5-year-old FTR that just came out. This is their second iteration of them, so they've only been out for 2 model seasons. So there's my logical approach to figuring out which one is better buy, but I'd be happy with either. So I hope you guys enjoyed the comparison between the GSX-S750 from Suzuki and the FTR-1200 base from Indian. If you don't ride, well, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and buy that motorcycle. If you do ride, keep the shiny side up, and we'll see you next time.
Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. Bye for now.